All right, so get those headphones ready because today we're going on a sonic adventure
Ooh, I like that.
to Portugal.
Nice.
We're diving deep into the world of Fado,
Right.
but not just any Fado. We're talking about two distinct styles,
Okay,
Fado de Lisboa and Fado de Coimbra.
I'm ready.
You've sent over a stack of fascinating sources, articles, historical accounts, even some technical stuff about the instruments themselves.
Yeah, and that's where the fun begins, right? It's like we're piecing together a puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
Two styles, both born from the heart of Portugal,
Yeah.
but each with its own distinct voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by the end of this deep dive, you'll not only be able to tell these styles apart, you'll understand why they sound so different, where they came from, and maybe even discover some new favorites along the way. Now, when I think of Fado, I immediately picture cobblestone streets, dimly lit taverns, and that unmistakable sound of the guitar portuguesa.
You're painting a vivid picture, and it's accurate. It's impossible to separate Fado from that sense of place, that feeling of saudade that the Portuguese talk about.
Right.
This melancholic longing, almost a bittersweet nostalgia.
Okay, saudade, I've heard that word, but I'll admit, it's always felt a little mysterious. Is it like missing something you've never had?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a complex emotion for sure. It's longing, yes, but also a sense of acceptance. Even a beauty in the absence of something.
Wow.
And that's what makes Fado so powerful.
Yeah.
It captures that feeling perfectly.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, we're dealing with two distinct styles here.
Right.
Fado de Lisboa, from the bustling heart of Lisbon, and Fado de Coimbra, born in the more academic, almost cloistered atmosphere of Coimbra. Where should we start our journey?
Let's hit the streets of Lisbon first, shall we?
Okay, let's do it.
I'm really curious about the whole history of Fado de Lisboa. Our sources mention it popping up in the Alfama and Moreira districts back in the 19th century, these neighborhoods with a real mix of people.
Yes, and that's key to understanding this style.
Oh.
It wasn't born in some fancy concert hall.
Right.
It emerged from the lives of everyday people, sailors, laborers, those on the margins of society. That rawness, that sense of struggle, it's baked into the DNA of Fado de Lisboa.
And yet it eventually became a symbol of Portuguese identity, almost like a musical ambassador for the entire country. That's quite a journey for a musical style.
Absolutely. It's a testament to its emotional power, I think. As Portugal went through all these changes in the 19th and 20th centuries, modernization, political upheaval, Fado de Lisboa became this touchstone, this way of expressing the collective soul of the nation.
Wow.
But it's not just about the history. The music itself, the way it sounds, is crucial.
Right.
When you hear Fado de Lisboa, what stands out to you?
Well, even if you don't understand the Portuguese lyrics, the emotion comes through loud and clear. There's a rawness, a vulnerability in the vocals that just pulls you in. And then there's that interplay between the guitar portuguesa and the viola de fado, creating this whole sonic world that feels both melancholic and vibrant.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
It's that combination of raw emotion and instrumental virtuosity that defines the style. The singers, they don't just sing the lyrics, they embody them. And one of our sources mentioned this amazing tradition of improvised lyrics and even lyrical duels between singers. Imagine that a musical battle of wits and emotions.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like they're taking this raw emotion and channeling it into this incredibly sophisticated art form.
Right.
Speaking of embodying the music, we can't talk about Fado de Lisboa without mentioning Amália Rodrigues, right?
Right.
The queen of Fado.
Ah, Amália.
Yeah.
Her voice, her presence, she was a force of nature. She took Fado de Lisboa from the taverns to the world stage. And through her millions, discovered not just the beauty of the music, but also the depth of Portuguese culture itself.
It's amazing how one artist can have such an impact, not just on a genre, but on a whole country's image.
It is.
It makes me think about how much power music has to connect people across cultures.
Right.
It's not just about the notes, is it?
It's not.
It's about the stories, the emotions, the shared experience.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so exciting. We're not just learning about music.
Yeah.
We're getting a glimpse into the soul of a culture.
I love it.
Me too.
All right, so,
Yeah.
okay, so we've walked the streets of Lisbon with Fado de Lisboa, felt that raw energy, that heart-on-your-sleeve emotion.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready for a change of pace.
Okay.
Take us to Coimbra, to the world of Fado de Coimbra. I'm picturing courtyards, whispers of history, maybe a late-night serenade echoing through the streets.
You're getting close. But trade those bustling streets for quiet contemplation. Coimbra, with its ancient university.
Yeah.
It's a city steeped in knowledge, tradition, and a kind of hushed reverence.
Right.
And that's the spirit you hear in Fado de Coimbra.
Yeah.
It's not about outward passion,
Yeah.
a deeper, more introspective kind of longing.
Interesting. Our sources mentioned it's traditionally sung by men, often in suits and black capes. There's a formality there, a seriousness that sets it apart from the Lisbon style.
Yeah.
It's almost like a academic fado.
You're spot on.
Yeah.
Remember, Coimbra has been a center of learning for centuries.
Mm.
So it's natural that its fado would reflect that intellectual tradition.
Oh.
The lyrics, they're often complex, layered with meaning.
Right.
It's not just about love and loss. It's
Yeah.
about the pursuit of knowledge, the passage of time, the weight of history itself.
And musically, it's a different experience too, right? The guitarra de Coimbra tuned lower. It has a darker, almost haunting quality.
Ah, the Coimbra guitar.
Mm.
It's an instrument of such depth. That lower tuning, it's not just a sonic choice. It creates a resonance that lingers in the air, almost like the echoes of memory in those historic courtyards where it's played.
Wow.
And then there's the teardrop-shaped scroll on the headstock, a symbol of the Sadat and the challenges of student life.
Wow, I never knew that about the scroll. That's the kind of detail that makes you realize how much thought and symbolism goes into every aspect of this music. But I have to admit, when I think of students, I think of youthful rebellion pushing boundaries. Yet Fado de Coimbra feels so restrained, almost somber.
That's a fascinating observation. And it gets to the heart of how Fado de Coimbra reflects Portuguese history. Remember, we're talking about a country that lived under a dictatorship for decades.
Yeah.
And during that time, Fado de Coimbra became this subtle form of protest.
So even in its restraint, it was still a voice for the people.
Absolutely. Artists like Jose Afonso, with his politically charged lyrics, he was a master of using metaphor and allegory to critique the regime without directly confronting it. It was resistance disguised as melancholy.
That's incredible. It makes you realize that even the quietest voice can be powerful, especially when the stakes are high.
Exactly. And that connection to history, to social change, it's another layer that separates Fado de Coimbra from its Lisbon counterpart. But don't get me wrong, both styles are deeply rooted in Portuguese identity. They just express it in different ways.
It's like two sides of the same coin, right? The passion and immediacy of Lisbon versus the intellectualism and historical weight of Coimbra. But even with these differences, they both tap into that core feeling of saudade, that uniquely Portuguese sense of longing.
You've put it perfectly. And that's the beauty of this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're starting to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
These two styles, they're not just separate genres. They're threads woven into the tapestry of Portuguese culture, reflecting its history, its struggles, its triumphs.
So if I wanted to really understand Portugal, I'd need to listen to both Fado de Lisboa and Fado de Coimbra.
That's the key. Each style offers a different perspective, a different shade of meaning. Together, they paint a richer, more complete portrait of what it means to be Portuguese.
I'm starting to see why UNESCO recognized Fado as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. It's not just about music, it's about preserving a whole way of life, a way of feeling. But I'm curious, when the dictatorship ended, did Fado de Coimbra change? Did it lose that edge, that sense of protest?
That's where it gets really interesting. Instead of fading away, Fado de Coimbra evolved. Artists like Adriano Correa de Oliveira, who had been active during the dictatorship. They continued to use their music to explore social issues, but now with a sense of hope, a belief in a brighter future.
So the spirit of resistance was still there, but the tone had shifted.
Exactly. It's a testament to the adaptability of this music.
Mm-hmm.
It's able to hold both the weight of history and the lightness of hope, sometimes even in the same song.
This whole discussion has me thinking about how music evolves, how it reflects the times. It's never static, is it? It's always responding to what's happening in the world around it.
That's one of the things I find most fascinating about music, its ability to adapt to change and yet still remain true to its essence.
It makes you wonder what's next for both of these styles. What does the future hold for Fado de Lisboa and Fado de Coimbra? We've journeyed through the streets of Lisbon, felt that raw passion of Fado de Lisboa, then wandered the historic courtyards of Coimbra, absorbing the intellectual weight of its Fado tradition.
Yeah.
Now I'm feeling a bit like a time traveler, ready to step into the future.
Okay.
What's next for these two incredible styles?
That's the question that keeps any music lover up at night, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to predict the future of art is like trying to bottle lightning. But what we can do is look for the sparks,
Okay.
those hints of where things might be heading.
Right.
And I think the most exciting sparks are coming from a new generation of Fado artists.
Oh, absolutely. Our sources mention artists like Carminho Ana Moura Gisela João. They seem to be honoring tradition while also bringing in new sounds collaborations, even new lyrical themes. It's almost like they're building bridges between the past and the future.
That's a great way to put it, building bridges. These artists, they grew up steeped in Fado, but they're also citizens of the world, influenced by everything from jazz and electronica to global music traditions.
Hmm.
And they're not afraid to experiment to push the boundaries of what Fado can be.
It makes me think about how we talked about Fado de Coimbra evolving during the dictatorship. Even under pressure, it found a way to adapt to stay relevant. And now, in this age of globalization where music travels at the speed of light, it's doing it again.
Exactly. Think about it. Someone in Argentina or Japan can now discover Fado with a few clicks. And that exposure is influencing the music itself. You're starting to hear these fascinating fusions, these blends of traditional Fado with contemporary sounds and production techniques.
It's like the music is absorbing the energy of the world around it, becoming something new while still holding on to its roots. It makes me wonder, are there any downsides to this globalization? Does it risk diluting the essence of Fado?
That's the million-dollar question.
Okay.
And there's no easy answer. But I think the key lies in intention. Are artists using these global influences to enhance the emotional core of Fado, or are they just chasing trends? Ultimately, it's up to the listener to decide what resonates with them.
It's like any art form, I suppose. There's always tension between innovation and tradition. But it's exciting to think that Fado is part of this global conversation, this exchange of ideas and sounds.
Absolutely. And it's
Absolutely.
not just about the music itself. There's a growing interest in the whole culture surrounding Fado,
Yeah.
the poetry, the history, the instruments, the social gatherings where it's traditionally performed.
You know, one of our sources mentioned a resurgence of Fido houses, not just in Portugal, but in cities around the world. It's like people are craving that authentic experience, that connection to something deeper, something more meaningful.
That yearning for authenticity, I think it speaks volumes about our modern world. We're bombarded with so much information, so much superficiality. And Fado, with its raw emotion, its connection to history, it offers a kind of refuge. It reminds us of what it means to truly feel, to connect with something larger than ourselves.
And to think all this started from those smoky taverns in Lisbon and those student serenades in Coimbra, it just shows the power of music to transcend time and place. But what about the future of these specific traditions? Is there a danger that the original styles of Fado de Lisboa and Fado de Coimbra will be lost amidst all this change?
That's a valid concern. But thankfully, there's a growing movement to preserve and teach these traditions. There are Fado schools, workshops, festivals, even academic programs dedicated to studying the history and techniques of both styles.
That's reassuring to hear. It's like they're creating a living archive, ensuring that these styles are passed down to future generations. It makes you realize that tradition isn't static. It's a living thing that needs to be nurtured and cared for.
You've hit the nail on the head again. And that's why this deep dive has been so rewarding. We've gone beyond just listening to the music. We've explored its context, its history, its emotional depth. And I hope for you it sparked a deeper curiosity about Fado, a desire to keep exploring.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like I've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to discover, different artists, different interpretations, different stories woven into the music. And it's not just about Portugal anymore. Fado has become part of this global conversation, this shared human experience of longing, loss, and resilience.
Beautifully said. And I think that's the perfect note to end on Fado in all its forms. It's a reminder that even in our differences, we share a common humanity. We long, we love, we lose, we hope. And music, it has this incredible power to connect us across those experiences.
I couldn't agree more. So to our listener, if you've been touched by the sounds of Fado, if you felt that tug of saudade, don't let the journey end here. Keep exploring, keep listening, keep those ears and hearts open to the beauty that the world of Fado has to offer.
And who knows, maybe someday you'll find yourself in a Fado house, lost in the music, feeling that connection to something ancient yet timeless.
That's a beautiful thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Fado. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the music playing.